Have you been diagnosed with a condition of your gut? Whether it's colitis, Crohn's, irritable bowel syndrome, GERD, H. pylori, ulcers. If you have, you're not alone. If you're finding yourself popping Tums in your tummy just because you're not feeling well, please know that there's other things that you can do. 1 to 2 billion people around the world have a condition just like you, maybe gastric issues. And today is the day we get to learn from our body whisperer. We're very lucky because today we're learning with Dr. Jennifer Gramith. Not only is she a naturopathic doctor, but she is a certified lymphedema therapist. And she is here today to talk to us about what the things we can do to repair our gut today. Start the process. So get your pencil or pen and your paper because we're going to take lots of notes together. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you. Hi, my name is Lillian McDermott, and I am a certified life coach, a certified holistic cancer coach, and the host of the Lillian McDermott radio show. If this is your first time tuning into the classroom, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening and viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, whether you're tuning in right now while we're live or you're listening to the classroom a week from today, please know that we're going to be giving away one of Dr. Jen's gut repair kit. So I want to encourage you to either text me or email me because Dr. Jen is going to be ready for you to get you started on this journey. But for today, we're going to have this conversation about what it is that we can do, some of the things that we're doing that are causing the problem, and what we can do today to start the healing journey. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Dr. Jennifer Gramith is here to do just that. Welcome back, Dr. Jen.
Thank you. It's glad to be back. As always, I love this opportunity to speak to your community. So it is a blessing. Thank you, Lily.
Well, I have to tell you, people love you. They really, really love you because, there's something about you that is so endearing, but most about endearing is that you're so well-rounded and you're so educated. And when I hear you speak, I mean, I'm going, everybody needs to have a Dr. Jen in their life. And we're fortunate that you do telehealth medicine. You can help somebody anywhere around the world. So I just wanted to point that out. And I would love for you to hold up the Dr. Jen's gut repair kit. One of you is going to get one of these Dr. Jen's gut repair kit. So you just need to text me, let me know that that's what you want, or email me. And then a week from today, we're going to pull your name out of the winner's basket, one name, and then I will share it with Dr. Jen. The last time I was a little late doing it, so she's just getting to it now. But I am just so grateful to you, Dr. Jen, not only the generosity of your time supporting the classroom, but also being generous to donate one of your gut repair kits too.
Oh, it's my honor. Thank you.
So let's talk about the gut and why is the gut so important to our health?
Right. So we've had many conversations about the importance of gut health, and that has been kind of a running theme over the last 20, 30 years that I've been, in practice. Everything had to go, to do with your gut. And with my research and, because I'm everything, lymphatic, everything, everything goes back to the lymphatic system, so the reason I got involved with getting to the gut was because of the lymphatic system. So many patients would come in and they're so congested Well, why are they congested? Well, they have a leaky gut. Their gut is not functioning. And I will tell you, the majority of the clients, I mean, the high majority of the clients coming into my office or doing the telewellness around the country have some degree of dysbiosis, some degree of gut health issues, and that is what's causing their chronic illness. And so you do have to get back to the gut. You know, most people don't know what their microbiome's made of. You know, they don't know if they have an overgrowth of candida or if they, need this particular probiotic like Akkermansia. And, so people just kind of blindly go through life with bloated bellies and feeling sick after they eat and causing arthritic type pain and headaches and skin breaks out, and they don't even associate that these are all gastrointestinal issues. And so my first job out of regular allopathic school was a colon and rectal specialist. And, it amazed me when I was in my 20s that, I would ask the doctor, well, is it normal for these patients to not have a bowel movement but once a week or once every couple of weeks? And because I heard her ask the patients that as her assistant. And they would say, well, I only have one once a week or once every couple of weeks. And she would say, how long has that been happening? And they would say, well, as long as I can remember. And I kid you not, Lillian, her words were this: if that is normal for you, then that must be normal. And even a young nursing student just right out of school, I'm like, how could that be normal? I've been constipated for a few days and I'm miserable. How can that be normal? But that's just the disconnect. And when you are not eliminating, your colon's not working, your stomach's not digesting, small intestine's not absorbing, that leads to heart disease, diabetes, cancer, all of the chronic diseases that we are dealing with, and autoimmune diseases. So it is a very important topic, and everybody needs to know where they stand as far as their gut microbiome. And there's some simple lab tests that you can do to determine that. So you're not just, I love that. You're
That's what
not
I was
just
looking for. I was looking for my little poop.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Everybody needs to know about what their poop means. But yeah, there's some great charts on that.
Yeah.
But I think it's very important for people to know where their gut microbiome is. And so I highly recommend testing, like especially if you're already symptomatic and you have issues, but even early on,
Yeah.
so that you can create the perfect environment for your immune system, because your immune system lives in the gut, to thrive. And so this is something that parents probably should be checking their children and seeing how they can support them to get that microbiome up to optimal levels. So, yeah. So a GI map test is one thing that you can do. That's an easy test. You do it at home. Um, that's a little bit on the more expensive side, but it does give you a ton of information on what your microbiome is made of. If you have leaky gut, SIBO, or H. pylori, and a lot of people do. I see a lot of positives come back on those tests when we order them here. And you can get those tests through me or through a functional doctor.
Are they
And then
expensive, Dr. Jen? Are they?
stool test like that that's really comprehensive would be around $300-400.
Okay.
So it's doable. And it's absolutely necessary if you already have a lot of gut issues. But there's other blood tests that are like $5 and $10 that can tell you if you're at risk for that, because, like I said, your gut health will have a ripple effect. And so in the blood, you will see elevated inflammation markers. So that's a CBC and a CMP. That can tell us a lot of what's going on, because if you're inflamed in the blood, if you see those elevated markers, that typically corresponds to an inflamed gut. So,
Interesting.
and then
Interesting.
there's the breath test, and that's looking more for the SIBO and things like that because of the vapors that are released from these bacterias. And yeah, so those are some simple, easy tests that don't require a lot of effort. That gives you a ton of information, and everybody needs to have that baseline. I definitely believe. And then if I have not seen one that comes back normal yet. But I'm dealing with people with chronic illnesses. So I would like to see, in the mass population, how many actually come back with a good, healthy, balanced gut, because I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Everybody has areas to work on. And if you want a functioning immune system, you got to have a good, healthy gut.
And I hear you, and as you started talking about, how it's normal for people to just go have a bowel movement once a week, or I used to be a child like that. And I
Wow.
I loved it because I hated sitting in the bathroom, and to me it was a waste of time. And I'd tell my mom because I wanted to play. I wanted to play,
Yeah.
I wanted to do all these things, and that was just it was like keeping me from playing. And so I
Yeah.
didn't want to do that. But people don't grow up learning about, like you're saying, if that's normal for you. No, it's not normal. And we
Mm-mm.
hear that you need to have at least two bowel movements a day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some people have three, depending on how healthy their gut is. They digest their food and out it goes. But what is our poop telling us? So
Mhm.
that's why I got my little poop guy, because I want, for those of you who are listening on podcasts, you don't see my little cute poop guy. But what is your tip for someone who's having gastric issues and they look back and it doesn't look like poop? What is your recommendation
Yeah, there's all kinds of ways you can read just looking at visual, looking at
without
the
doing a
your
map
bowel
test? Yeah.
movements. Yeah, without doing a map test. And, if it has a lot of fat in it, it will float, and you're not digesting fat. So that may mean that you need lipase, which is an enzyme that will help you. If it is real fluffy and runny, and just coming out. It's showing you all kinds of digestive. Your bowel movement should be a good size, very consistent, and you should be if you're eating 2 to 3 meals a day, you should have 2 to 3 bowel movements a day. That's normal, and but don't let that fool you. And if you're still having gut issues, do a beet challenge test. That will tell you because you may be pushing out some stool every day, twice a day. But if you go and you eat or drink some juice that's just all beets because of the red in it, it will turn your bowel movement red. And so that is how we measure the um, transition time. So when you eat something with beets in it, how long does it take before it turns the color of your stool? And that tells you how long it takes you to digest that particular food item. And so it should be within 24 hours. It should not be 3 days later and you finally start to see the beet come out in your stool. If that's the case, you are constipated, even though you're having multiple bowel movements a day. So that's a simple, easy test I tell people to do. Drink a glass of beet juice, eat some beets, and see how long it takes to see that in the stool. But
Right.
always prepare
Warn.
them. You're not bleeding. You're not bleeding. It's not blood because a lot of people on my juice fast program, they'll start juicing beet and then they're like, oh, there's blood in my stool. And that's not what it is. It's just the beet juice. But
That's a great test. I mean,
yeah,
because this is what I hear. If I only had the money, I would have all these tests done. But all you have to do is buy some beets, and
yeah,
that's very inexpensive to do that test.
right.
So if you don't see the beets, because you were saying that you could be going two, three times a day, but
Mhm.
you could be also constipated, getting rid of something from last week as opposed to
Right,
something you just
right,
ate. So that
yeah,
beet test is inexpensive. You can do it yourself. And so
right.
if within 24 hours you haven't seen the redness, what do you suggest people do?
Well, then I know that they're constipated and that we need to probably, give them probiotics and prebiotics. We may need to also give them magnesium. Magnesium deficiency is another reason people have a lot of constipation. Progesterone deficiency is too. So you start looking for, what's causing that. Why are they constipated? Are they dehydrated? That's a big issue. A lot of people could fix their constipation issues just by hydrating better. And so you start with the simple things like that. And then if it continues to be a problem, there are, more testing and things you can do. People don't eat enough fiber. They don't eat enough fruits and vegetables in their diet. Start with that. How many fruits and vegetables are you eating every day? And are you chewing your food? Do you have enough enzymes in order to digest your food? One thing, people who eat fast, and I was raised to, because my mother was a neat, clean freak. And so she would cook dinner, set it on the table, and be cleaning up before we ever took the first bite. So we had to eat really, really fast in order to, not get the plate, in the sink before we finished. So not a good things, Mom. Let your children have time, sit at the table, pray over your food, digest your food, take your time. My father-in-law is an Englishman, and he takes forever to eat food, but he doesn't have these digestive issues. He's so proper. He even takes a knife and a fork to cut a hamburger into bite-sized pieces, because, to pick it up with your hands would be so um,
Improper.
terrible.
Improper.
Yeah, improper. So he tries to teach us how to eat properly. But there's truth to that. You really do have to slow down. And we live in such a fast-paced world. How many parents are driving through the drive-through to grab something as they go to the ball field, and eat it really quick before they get there, the kids and the parents. And that's the world we're living in. And that's why we have our disease crisis that we do. And then, the stress, look at your stress levels too. We've talked about this so many times on your show, the importance of it, dealing with the emotions and the stress in your life. And I saw that when I was monitoring my glucose for that year, and how many times stress would knock it up higher than a piece of cheesecake or something like that. It was eye-opening. So, you're trying to cut down the areas that are creating inflammation in your life, in your gut, especially. So make sure that everything that you put in your mouth is chewed properly. Don't eat too many combinations of foods at one time. There are things that we have learned through research about how to better digest, and that would be, eat your proteins and fats at the front of the meal, eat your carbs if you have any good carbs at the end of the meal. And that really has helped with digestion. So those are just simple things to do. And then practice, like I'm doing right now, Lillian, I'm doing a week-long juice fast. I love juice fast. We call it fast, but it's really feasting. You're just not eating, but you're pouring a ton of critical nutrients into your body, the very nutrients that are needed to heal the mucosal lining in your gut, to regulate your bowel movements, to increase better absorption of these vital vitamins and minerals. Every cell of the body needs it. Every system of the body needs it. And that's a big problem, is most of the population, especially here in the US, which should not be, is malnourishment. And it doesn't look like that because there's so many obese people. Okay. But you have all of the environmental toxins, and you have the high glucose levels, the xenoestrogens, and that's all being stored in the adipose tissue, making us obese. But you're starving your body of the critical nutrients it needs to run properly. And so juice feasting or juice fasting is, one of my go-tos, as you know. I love to do it. I typically do a 30-day at least once a year. Um, this and I do it in March because that's my birthday month. But this time I'm doing a week, and then I'll do a 30-day probably in April. But I love it, and it totally gives the body the opportunity to heal my gut.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the rest of the inflammation. So it starts with the gut, healing your gut, but then it kind of, you know, goes out from there and it heals old injuries and wounds and neuroinflammation and, all kinds of stuff. So it's a
Yeah.
great thing for people to do and fairly inexpensive to juice fast.
We did a juice fast together, and that was a
Ah,
lot of fun.
fun.
Yeah, we did that. We did a gut repair as well, and we did
Mhm.
a fast. We did the Love Your Body cleanse, where we did and all of that is available at whenyouneedafriend.com. And I'm just going to take a little moment just to talk about whenyouneedafriend.com, because what I'd like to do is maybe after I'm done talking about my website and what Dr. Jen is doing as well, but we go into this, what can we do today? Because we know what we're not doing. We're
Mm.
doing, we're just doing what we're doing right now, and we're thinking that, oh my gosh, may it work, but it doesn't. And so, so I want to encourage you all to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, because I'm sure that all of you want to know how to get a hold of Dr. Jen. Where is she at? So, if you are a subscriber at whenyouneedafriend.com, then you get a blog, and on that blog, Dr. Jen's name is, all the different, like the ZYTO. She does, she does all these other different modalities that are amazing. She's done EVOX. She does the gallbladder, the cleansing. I mean, there's just so many different ways. Lymphatic. You can also find who she's trained. So there's a lot of things when you go to her website, which is rightwayhealthandwellness.com. It's right behind me right here. So if you miss it, it's right behind me. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. We need to support our sponsors the way that they're supporting the classroom. And Dr. Jen is such a strong supporter. She's been at every event that I've done, and I'm just so excited that she is just part of my journey. And I just encourage all of you to choose that as well. And so another thing that you can do is you can go to whenyouneedafriend.com and check out my Shop Now bag from head to toe, Lily approved products, whether it's makeup or all the way to your toes, basically. But if you have any pain, all natural ways to heal your body. And then last but not least, you can become an enrolled student in the classroom, whether it's $1, $1,000 a month, a one-time donation. We appreciate all that you can do, including sharing this video today, because I'm sure just as I'm talking to you, and the sun will come up tomorrow, that you know somebody with gut issues. And it could be you. It could be you. So let them know that there are things that we can do today, as well as to call Dr. Jen and get her gut cleanse, Dr. Jen's gut repair kit, which we're giving one away today. A week from today, we're going to be giving one away for those of you who would like to get their name in the winner's basket. So show it, Dr. Jen. Dr. Jen could be anywhere today, but she chooses to be here today. That's Dr. Jen's gut repair. Just text me or email me, and Lily at whenyouneedafriend.com, 407-373-5959, to claim your place with your name in the winner's basket so that you can start your journey. And if not, you can call Dr. Jen's clinic at 404-474-2100. I've been there, not to the new one. I've been to her old clinic, and it's phenomenal. I'm looking forward to, you know what? I need to go up there and visit you and,
Yes,
and
you do.
Dr. Michelle. Maybe I'll do that soon. Let's talk about it after the class here. But I'm just so grateful to you. You could be anywhere right now doing your thing, but you choose to share your wisdom. So thank you for that. I really appreciate you.
Very welcome. Yeah, and this is an important topic, so I think people need to understand. So what I want to do to Lillian, we'll talk about the things that people can do, but there's always those cases that have already tried this and tried that. So
Yeah.
I'm going to
Okay.
just briefly, because it's going to be a different podcast. We'll talk about the benefits of peptide therapy and
I
repair.
was hoping
So,
that talk will
yeah,
happen soon. Okay.
I know. So we're going to do a deep dive later, but we'll just talk a little bit about that because I know that a lot of your listeners are people who have really struggled and they have tried a lot of the things that we're talking about. And that should always be where you start. You should always start with your lifestyle. But we do have other options that work very quickly. And I've only seen amazing benefits from it and from the research that I've been doing, because as you know, Lillian, I've been researching this for quite some time. And before I ever talk about things, I research
I
it and I
know.
try it.
I
I don't share
know.
it with a lot of
Yeah.
people until I am confident that it really does make a difference. And
And I
that's where I
respect
am
that.
today.
And
Yeah.
I respect that about you because I remember sitting right next to you when we were at the Annie Appleseed conference and they were talking about peptides and you were like you knew exactly what they were talking about. You were ahead of you were even saying things before they even said it. And I looked at you and said, "Why haven't we done a show on peptides?" You
Like,
said, "I'm
it's
not
coming.
ready." Not ready. And I respect that. I
That's right.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what
Yeah.
do you want to share about peptides? Oh, well, first of all, you're talking about lifestyle changes, stressors that we need to change in our life. Really quick, I just want to go over some of the things that we could do today and then maybe some of the things later on. Or is the
Right.
later
No,
on is the
that's
peptides?
perfect. No, I think that, I mean, we've talked about some, implementing juice fasting or fasting. I have a whole Dr. Jen's gut repair program. That's a 30-day program that you've done with me to really teach people the amazing tool fasting is, and it's very inexpensive, so especially on the week that you're water fasting. Um, but it is amazing. And it actually does a lot of the same things these peptides do. So this is your natural, peptides. And so there are natural peptides as well, that we can use in foods and things like that. We'll talk about when we talk about the peptides. But so juice fasting and then, taking antimicrobials. But, the problem I see with that is really not with the average person, but more specifically for the people who have struggled with gut health for, you know, months to years. And they've tried different, like they've been on the same probiotic for 6 months. Well, it's still bacteria. And a bacteria, whether it's a good bacteria, if you do too much of it, it's going to throw your microbiome out of balance. And that's why I can't stress enough for people to rotate these probiotics. Because if you get too much of a good thing, it's going to throw you out. You're not going to get your symptoms taken care of, and you're just kind of in the same boat. So that's why, if you're that type of person, you need to have one of those tests done that we talked about. So you know what your microbiome is made of and what you need to supplement so that you bring it into balance. So don't keep guessing around. But on the average general population, they're so deficient in probiotics that any probiotic blend would probably benefit them. And so that's a good place to start. Eating fermented foods, make that a daily practice. Eat some serving of fermented foods, whether it's a coconut yogurt or it's kefir. I love kimchi. Kimchi is packed full of a ton of good probiotics. And so, and a lot of people will tell me, well, Dr. Jen, I don't like fermented foods. You can find at least one that you like.
Everybody likes
They're
a pickle.
delicious.
Everybody likes a
Exactly.
pickle. I mean, but I wanted to go back to the kimchi. I love
Okay.
kimchi.
Hmm.
I've gone to restaurants that have the best kimchi, but then when I want to buy it or maybe I should make my own.
Make it.
But
Yeah.
when I buy it, there's lots of like stuff that I wouldn't want to put in my body. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
so
So
what
it
are the
is
things to
best.
avoid when you're buying kimchi?
Well, I mean, a lot of these fermented things put a lot of sugar in them to feed it. And so you do have to be careful, with that. The fewer the ingredients, the better. But ideally, you want to do it in your own home and get the bacterias from your own home into the food, too. And so that's why it's good to do your own sourdough bread, your own, fermented foods. They're very simple to do. You can, Google really quick or ChatGPT, how to ferment cabbage. It's very quick and easy and painless. I love to do that. Cabbage is one of my favorite, foods. It's great antioxidants. It's anti-cancer. There's
Yeah.
so many benefits
It
to
stops
that.
ulcers,
I,
like cabbage
yeah,
soup.
juice. Yeah,
Yeah, cabbage
exactly. And
juice, cabbage soup. It stops
yeah,
ulcers. It heals
yeah.
them.
I know.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, better than any pharmaceutical for sure. So that information is definitely out there. You just got to be creative. So my, tip for you is just start with one serving of a fermented food a day and make sure, I always tell my clients, you just want to make sure that any serving of food you put in your body is less than 4 grams or 4 grams or less of sugar in it. And because some of these will have 20 something grams, like a soda. I mean, it's ridiculous. But it's you got to watch the highly processed foods that, they put a lot of preservatives in them to make them shelf life stable. I always get the one that's just, a few ingredients and then it has to be refrigerated. It's not in a jar, on the aisle. It could have been there for months, to years. So depending
Not
on where you're shopping.
not to put you on the spot,
Yeah.
but I've had different people try to tell me that you can get like 10 fruit servings in a gummy. What do you think of that?
I don't believe that. There's that's why they're called supplements. You supplement with them, you don't use them as your basic source. But I mean, I love to take like the Juice Plus, I like the powdered fruits and vegetables because in reality, you would have to eat, 15 to 20 servings of fruits and vegetables to get just these.
So powder is good. So powdered is good,
Powder
especially if
is
it's freeze
good,
dried.
but
Okay.
it's still not gonna take the place of the actual food.
Okay.
Okay, because there's so many more components in there that you need. You
Yes.
don't, with it dried, you don't get the enzyme benefit, so you're not
Kidding.
digesting well. You don't get enough of the fiber. You get the critical nutrients, that's great. But that's if you have a healthy gut microbiome. And most people, like I said, don't. So, you want to do the things that will be sustainable long term. You don't want to always have to rely on all of your nutrients coming from supplements. Again, it's to fill in the cracks, not to be your foundation
Hmm.
of your lifestyle. Food should be your foundation. You should get everything you can from your diet and then supplement anything that's lacking.
Got it. Got
That's
it.
that's my that's my wisdom.
Just wondering, I was
Take
just
it for what
wondering
it's
because
worth. Yeah.
I have been, I actually, my cousin is uh, um, a orthomolecular scientist,
Yeah.
and he developed a bath where you use these powdered ingredients and you go into the bath and it
Oh.
absorbs through your skin. And
Mhm.
I thought, brilliant, because it's a different process of administering nutrients into your
Right.
body, and he calls it it's a shower, and
Yeah.
I've never done it, but he was the first one that turned me towards natural solutions. So I really appreciate him doing that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I just was wondering. So I didn't mean to catch you off guard there, but
No,
I just
no,
want
that's
keep
that's
on
a
going,
great
keep on going.
that's a
I love
great
all your,
question.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love all your other. Do you have other tips that we can do?
Right. That's a good point because, if you can't, and that's it's the way we look at medicine too. If we can't get it absorbed and metabolized in the gut because of the gut state of the gut. Putting these nutrients on your skin is another great way to get nutrients in. Um, to the degree of absorption, that's all measurable. So you could, check your vitamin D levels, if you're using a transdermal dermal vitamin D, or a lot of these supplements are oral, they're intranasal, so there's different delivery systems that you can get the nutrients. And you just need to know what your breakdown is. Is it in my gut? Is it, the one thing that I have an issue with the hormone creams, and I love them, I use them, is that if your skin, is really dry or calloused and you're putting it on your skin, you may not get the absorption you need. So you can't really, get that 5 milligrams in of absorption. You may put that on you, but you may or may not get it. So it's not as precise. And but there are ways to get more precise if needed. But again, a lot of people just start with the basics.
Well, this is all great. This is all great. So let's talk about, some of the biggest disruptors that could keep us from absorption. Is there
Right.
anything that you could suggest that we stop today or that we add today to keep those disruptors from um,
Right.
keeping us from our gut being optimal?
Yeah, so probably the number one disruptor is our mental emotional health. The stress in our lives creates such instant inflammation in our body,
Yeah.
especially in our gut, that it will just block your body's ability to absorb, to circulate. It congests your lymph within minutes. From a watery state to a clogged, like cottage cheese butter state, so that it just kind of just stops the immune response. And so you go out, you're under stress, you go out, you're exposed, you get sick because you have no active immune system. So that is number one. Other than that, especially us ladies, we put way too many unhealthy products on our skin. Studies show that's over 400 different known carcinogens and endocrine disruptors with just our hair care products, our makeup. So go clean and get rid of all of that garbage. You've heard a lot of doctors talking about the microplastics in our body and in our blood and our tissue that's creating such disastrous results with our endocrine system. And your endocrine system is your hormones that run every system of the body. And so it's not just about our sex hormones. It's not just about libido and, menopause and things like that. It's every system of the body is affected when you have exposures to these endocrine disruptors. So get the plastics out of your house. Don't drink out of plastic containers, especially heated. Don't heat stuff up in the microwave for one, but don't heat them up in plastic containers. So those are just simple things that you can do. And get the Yucca app downloaded on your phone and scan everything that you're putting in your mouth at the grocery store. Even the stuff that says organic can be extremely hazardous. And remember that a lot of times they're showing you it's hazardous, it's got preservatives in it, but because it's not at a lethal dose, they can slap that term on there. So you don't be fooled. Make sure you test everything. The one of the hardest things for me was to find a good healthy coffee creamer that I could put in my coffee. And I was doing, the different ones that was just almond milk and stuff like that. And they had a lot of known carcinogens
Yeah.
and endocrine disruptors in there. I was so furious because you just pick one up. Sure enough, it would be like out of 100, it would be like a 20, and so
Y-
you want to get as close to 100 as you can.
It's interesting because I was using the Yuka app and it's
Mhm.
YUKA for those of you who want to
Yeah,
download it. I think
the
it's a free
carrot.
app. before Yucca, there was Think Dirty.
Uh-huh.
And I used to use Think Dirty for everything. And I changed my deodorant many, many years ago. I don't use deodorant anymore. I use the Crystal Rock. It's a Thai crystal, and I learned about it in our local herb, our herb group, our herb company that's real
Yeah.
close by. And but then when I scanned it through Think Dirty, it was great. But when I scanned it through Yuka just recently, I just thought, because I gave one to someone who we were talking about it.
Right.
So I gave him because we buy, so I gave it to him, and he scanned Yuka and it said poor. And it's
Mhm.
not the same. The crystal rock is not the same aluminum that's in
Right.
our, it's not, and they're treating it as such. And so I
Yeah.
don't, that kind of like
You
threw me
gotta
like,
watch.
what?
You
Yeah.
do, because if it's high in fat and it's a good fat, it will still have a yellow sign because it's not, telling the difference between the good and bad. But so you have to look at what it's saying
Yeah,
is a hazard. If it's
yes.
high in sodium, even though it's maybe a good sodium, like celery juice, then that's you just kind of have to disregard that. But yeah,
Yeah, you
you
got to know a
I
little
didn't
bit
know it
more.
actually did. I didn't think it would do any products other than food, but that's good to know.
Oh, well, actually they do beauty products. I was using the Yuka app the other day. I was at the store and I wanted to
Yeah,
buy a new shampoo because I
yeah,
figured it was just like and so I was at a place that doesn't normally you don't buy normally shampoo at that place. You might buy
yeah.
clothing, but they have such a great selection. And so I was going through it and the stuff that was great for in Think Dirty, and now Think Dirty you have to pay to get
Oh,
all the information. So I've turned to Yuka, and interestingly enough, the shampoo I was using, they were saying that it wasn't good, and I looked at why, and
uh-huh.
they don't label that like they won't label fragrance as high as Think Dirty does. Think Dirty is like
Oh,
you have
okay.
fragrance, you're out.
Yeah,
But with Yucca, you can. So I'd be curious as to what you
yeah.
think
Be
about with
interesting. Yeah, I have to do
yeah,
some other
body
products
products.
on it.
Yeah, do the body
Mhm.
products too. I didn't realize you could do food. I didn't
Yeah, I
realize
know that
that.
you can't do wine because it tells you that it's not going to tell anybody to drink the wine.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Well,
So,
that's really interesting because, we want to protect ourselves, and before it touches my skin, I make sure I look at all the ingredients. But
good.
still today, there are so many more chemicals allowed in the United States, and I'm hoping that that will change soon. That
Yes,
the chemicals that are not allowed in Europe will not be allowed in the United States. And that's
right.
why I like Keep Me Safe Organics. That's the products that I use. And
Mhm.
people can go onto my website and get, 10% off. But, but I haven't been able to find anything. But I wonder if I scan them, what it would say with Yucca, even if it would accept it. But
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
so
Mhm.
the values of some of the ingredients are different. So I appreciate that what you're saying
Mhm.
is it's a good start. So I was just wondering
Yeah.
if you had ever tried the Think Dirty app or if there are other apps
No,
out there.
I'll have to try that though. Yeah, most definitely. Some of
Yeah.
the other apps I didn't like, but I haven't tried Think Dirty.
Well,
So
what about your gut app that you have?
right. So yeah, so now that's available as the Dr. Den's Gut Repair, which is our 30-day gut repair program. And so what's great about that, you don't have to wait any longer till the next time when we do a gut repair. It's all in your pocket and you can start it at any time. And so that's an option to just get people started. And it's something that I put together because people who do that initially, it really does cut down on a lot of the supplementation and other types of modalities that we have to use in order to get the person's inflammation down to boost their immune, system. And so it's just a really fun thing to do that should be incorporated at least once a year in most people's lives. So Yeah, so we
And
have that.
once you get the app, Dr. Jen's gut repair, once you get that, you always have it, or do you have to maintain it? Because you pay for it.
Right.
What is it one time, or do you have to pay for it
There's
monthly?
different tiers that you can get,
Okay.
that, one time just doing just the app, and then there's with the supplements and with the monitors if you're going to do a CGM monitor, and then also consult with the longer, use of the app. But so yeah, we're still kind of in the discovery of,
No, this is
that of
cool.
what works. So it may change, but yeah, I love it. I think it's a great thing. And like I said, it really is designed to heal your gut in 30 days. And, we've seen great testimonies where people have reversed type 2 diabetes, their inflammation markers have gone down, their cancer markers come down. And so it is for people who have already been diagnosed with a chronic illness. And then it's also to help prevent those things from happening. And I hope more people, take advantage of prevention side of it and don't wait till you get that diagnosis before you start scrambling. But, it does the same things that, you hear all these peptide doctors talking about that the injectable or intranasal or the oral peptides do. And you can do that, yourself. So, now let's talk a little bit about my research on the peptides,
Okay, let's do it.
because that has been a huge controversial topic, and it's been around in functional medicines for decades. We've used peptides to heal people who are, and then again, it's never the first line of defense. It's later, once you've corrected all of these other lifestyle factors and they're still struggling, that's when you want to, possibly you may want to look into peptide therapy. So the peptides for the gut, you've heard of BPC 157. That is kind of like the golden peptide, it really has no downside. It's proteins that are found in our gastric juices typically. And when you inject that, it can help with repairing the mucosal membrane of the gut, the intestinal lining. It reduces inflammation almost on contact. That's why a lot of doctors are using it in injured sites. So if you have like an injury or you have pain anywhere, if you can inject it in the adipose tissue closest to the area, it's very good at getting rid of the pain and inflammation of that area. Most people are doing it in the gut, in the belly, injectable, if they are trying to heal their gut. Sometimes there's companies that have some good like multi-peptides, and that's the best one, the BPC 157, but it'll be oral. So oral in that case works really good to heal the gut. So you can actually just swallow it like a supplement, but it is a peptide. So that will reduce the inflammation in your gut. There's also that one works really good
Can
too
we get
in
oral? Can we get that through
yeah,
you?
yep, yep.
You
Well,
have
yeah.
that? I
What
want
you,
to try.
I will have that. I do have access to that. Yes.
Okay.
What your audience can do is if they are interested in doing peptide therapy, they can call my office and set up a consult with me, and we'll talk about it. What they need specifically, because there's so many different types. There's like the trefoil factor is a protein that's expressed in the gastrointestinal mucus membrane. It is probably one of the most important peptides to heal the leaky gut. So it just like seals it.
Mm.
And so that can work really, really
Which one's that?
quickly.
Is that the 157 that you're talking about?
No, so BPC 157 heals the lining too, but
Okay.
not to the extent that it's TFF3, trefoil factor 3 is the enzyme that I'm talking about. It thickens the mucus in the intestinal lining, which is what you're wanting I mean, that would be also really good for ulcers, things like that,
Wow.
too.
Wow. I am
And then
so looking
everybody's,
forward to this.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And then everybody's heard about the GLP-1, right? For weight loss and I have been researching that, studying that myself. I've been using that myself, and this is micro dosing really small
Not the big, you're
amounts.
not
No,
supporting, you're not
I am not
saying,
supporting Ozempic, macro dosing, because if you macro dose any hormone, anything like that, any peptide, any hormone, you can create damage. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a lot of people losing muscle mass along with fat. Yeah, they do lose fat, but they also lose a lot of muscle. It's toxic. I would never, recommend a person doing macro dosing of insulin. It would kill them, so you have to use common sense. And unfortunately, the weight loss thing has driven that, to me off a cliff. But micro dosing, those peptides are very healthy. And so I had ran a cardio IQ test on myself. My numbers were 30 points higher than what they should be. So that gave me a risk factor for cardiovascular disease. This is a common blood test that I run on most of my patients to see where they're at, because you can have a normal cholesterol, HDL, and LDL, and still be at high risk of having a cardiac event. And so studies have shown that 70% of the patients walking into the hospital or in cardiac arrest have normal cholesterol and levels. So do a cardio IQ test. Well, so I have tried other things, to bring that number down with a little bit of success, but not enough. And in 3 months of doing just a micro dose of the GLP-1, it brought those numbers down to optimal. So it brought my cardio IQ markers, my
wow.
inflammation markers down over 30 points, 34 on one and 32 on the other. My fasting insulin was brought down to optimal levels. So hemoglobin A1C, all of those things that I was testing it out to see if it worked. It did work for
Yeah.
me. That doesn't mean, it's for everyone, but I'm always testing these things out, on myself if I can.
You know,
So,
I know that there's a time limit for you right
right.
now,
Yeah.
but I really would like to dive so deep into this. And the question I have for you
Yeah.
is people that have autoimmune conditions, which we already know have gut issues, right? We can assume that that's probably, so if you have an autoimmune condition, there could be a gut issue. Instead of doing the chemotherapy like drugs, would this be something that could help reduce inflammation? Could it be, if somebody wanted to do it naturally, could peptides help someone that has an autoimmune condition?
Yeah. So that's a great question.
Such
And
as rheumatoid arthritis, let's say, let's just build on
yes.
that one.
Most definitely, I think peptides would play a role. There's actually been research and doctors doing research on cancer patients using peptides, because peptides are proteins and amino acids. That's what a peptide is. And so our body naturally makes those. And as we age, the GLP-1 actually goes down. And that's one reason we gain weight around our belly, things like that. So, yeah, there are certain peptides that have been, scientifically shown to be effective for different types of autoimmune disorders, inflammatory issues. But that's why you really need to work with a doctor to know which one. And it used to be all prescription based. They've kind of released that now. So it's not, you don't necessarily have to have a prescription anymore to get peptide therapy, but you still need guidance. You definitely need guidance from a doctor that knows what these peptides do, because you don't want to take too much. You want to get your dose right. And with peptides, you microdose everything. But the glycogen-like peptide 2 is one that not a lot of people are talking about, but
Yeah.
it's really enhances the ability for your gut to absorb nutrients. and to reset your metabolism. And so it also helps with candida overgrowth or any kind of bacterial overgrowth in the gut. So there's so many
So these
different
are oral
types.
peptides. These are oral
So some
peptides.
are oral, some are injectable, some are intranasal, some are topical. So there's
Wow.
a lot of amazing. I mean, we could have a field day just with the topical anti-aging ones.
I want
So
to come over and try all these things. I want to play with you over in
yes, yes.
Georgia. And I want to remind all of you, and I don't believe I said it. I think this is the first time I haven't said it. If you use the code Lily20, you get 20%, whatever it is that you're getting at shop rightwayhealth.com. And I want to encourage all of you to be curious about this and start your own research, just like that. I love that about you, Dr. Jen. When I was sitting next to you, and I'm like, when are we going to do a show on peptide? You know more than this girl that's talking over here. And you're like, I'm
Yeah.
still doing my research. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my
Yeah, it takes
gosh.
a lot to convince me. Yeah, it does
Yeah,
take a
yeah.
lot. I have to see the numbers because you do look at studies and studies can have be biased, depending on who's funding the studies. So you really have to learn how to read between the lines. I have seen things work in a study or, have proof of it, but when I brought it into the clinic and I used it on real life people, I didn't get that result. And so that's frustrating, to me. So you do have to put it into clinical, practice and try those things out
Well,
to see if they're really effective. So I'm in that process, but it always excites me when it's effective for me. And I've got some other staff members, experimenting with it as well. So I am excited to see what help that can actually give those really struggling patients because I'm always looking for that key, yes, you start with the foundational stuff, but there are more and more people who are so metabolically broken, it's just not enough for them to get to optimal health. So what do we have to offer them? That's what I'm looking for as a practitioner. And that's, what I am seeing with some of these peptides being almost
well.
miraculous. So I'm really excited about the potential that they have. So I look forward to, and we'll cut it off there, but I look forward to really diving deep into maybe like a series that we do,
I would love to be I would like to be your test subject, but I know we're out of time, but
Yeah.
there's so much we're just still dipping the toe. Maybe next time we can do part two because we're still dipping the toe in all of this. And I want to encourage all of you to text me, email me to get Dr. Jen's gut repair kit. Also, you can go to the app and get Dr. Jen's gut repair. That's an app that you can start at any time, or you can join any of her classes. I don't know if she's doing a class anytime soon. That's why she did the app. But you have her support. You can call Dr. Jen at 407-474-2100, Rightway Health and Wellness. Dr. Jen, I absolutely adore you. I am so excited. Every time you bring all this information, you empower us to do better. So thank you.
Thank you, Lillian.
And to those of you, please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. This is Lily McDermott and Dr. Jennifer Gramith wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.